Natalie Anderson competed on the 29th season of San Juan Del Sur, where she outwitted, outplayed and outlasted 17 other people to be declared the winner and sole survivor. After starting off slowly on the domino Tunapu, Natalie's game really came to fruition after the vote out of Jeremy, where she managed to wheel and deal her way right to the end and secure enough votes from the jury to win the game. I spoke to Natalie about what the first thing she bought with her money was, why she looked at Tony for inspiration going into the season, as well as turning to Nadiya for inspiration and answers during the interview, and just how she managed to dupe so many of her fellow contestants during the latter parts of the game. Natalie, welcome back to Survivor Oz.
Thank you so much, Ben. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastically. Not as good as you, it sounds. You're on the road. You're traveling right now. I'm jealous.
Yeah, but I'm in fucking Michigan, so it's freezing, and I'm basically driving in the snow.
Well,
I would much rather be in Australia with you right now.
Right. Well, I would say that would be a good thing, but we're having a very cold summer. Not quite snow cold, but you know, it's too cold here, Natalie. It should be like 38 degrees Celsius at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's like negatives here, so don't complain.
I won't, I promise. But I'm guessing the last month or so, I mean, been quite busy for you, no doubt. How has 2015 started for you? Have things calmed down now since it's all finished?
Yeah, it's all calm. It was really awesome. Yeah, my parents with us, Nadiya and my family, we spent New Year's together. We rang it in New York. We didn't do anything crazy, just kind of hung out together, but it was really nice to have them around. And then when they left, things were crazy for a while, but I think me and Nadiya just kind of, now we're back to our old kind of life. And, you know, my bank account looks obviously very different, but besides that, everything is the same with us.
That's the main thing. You want that bank account to look a little bit different. No doubt we'll get to that. But, well, I mean, a question I have to ask in terms of going on Survivor, you and Nadiya, when it came to that call coming, you know, guys, come on to Survivor, I mean, were you both big fans of Survivor, having been on The Amazing Race? Had you watched a lot of the show before you eventually went on it?
We didn't watch the last couple of seasons ever since we won Amazing Race, but we were definitely not like Survivor buffs where we were like Jeremy. I had not seen, you know, the old seasons, but once I got the call to be on the show, Nadiya and I definitely did our research, so we went back and we started watching every season we could like cram in there. And what we did was we would find out who would win and then watch the show, kind of like seeing how, like the stuff they would do, and then like kind of learn from people's mistakes. But we watched like literally as many seasons as we could cram in before we went out. But before we got the call, we had seen Brains, Bronze, Beauty, and the other Blood versus Water.
Was there any of the winners that you were paying attention to that both of you particularly enjoyed their games, and did you kind of try to go in using any of their particular strategies?
I admired Tony's game, and I actually said that when every castaway gets asked who's the Survivor player you would be most like, and I picked Tony as the person I would be like, and I tweeted this at the start of the season. I said, whoever picked a winner, look out for them, because obviously if you pick a winner, that means you're going out to win. Nadiya picked I think she picked Cliff, which I don't know why she picked Cliff, or like Woo or something, but it was Nadiya. I admired Tony's game. I think me and Nadiya both looked at Tony and said, you know, he was playing, like he was kind of insane, which I said I don't want to be as crazy as Tony, but definitely take big risks like Tony. And, you know, I think that he was really fun to watch, you know, this season.
It's interesting to put Cliff or Woo down. I'm not sure how that works out. At least somebody in History of Survival would have put them down as somebody they're most liked, though, at least, Natalie.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the fact that Tony was from Jersey, so I kind of, you know, had some Jersey connect with them. It was kind of cool that a Jersey person won 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah. Did he at all tweet you during the season, or have you spoken to Tony since you've won?
Yeah, we tweeted back and forth, and you know, during the season he was like, "Good job," and then once I won, you know, he tweeted me congratulations, and I said we have to meet up for a drink soon, but he's like super busy. I guess he has like kids and stuff, but yeah, he was really supportive. Most of the like the old castmates were cool once like once I won, everybody kind of reached out and said, good job, Nat, which was nice.
Yeah. I mean, going into the game, how much did you feel your reputation and kind of your past from the Amazing Race was going to affect you? I mean, clearly it affected Nadiya, given that it sort of seemed to be the reason why she was first out. And did that really worry you that kind of was going to put a huge target on your back straight away?
Yeah, I had no idea why Nadiya got voted off. It didn't make sense to me, but watching it back, it's like the fact that they kind of, made everybody scared of Nadiya and say, oh, she was like this kind of player on Amazing Race. Obviously, we got outed for being on Amazing Race. Nadiya and I never came out saying, oh, we won Amazing Race, guys. Like, we're really cool. We won 2 seasons. But Jeff actually announced to the cast when we showed up on the beach, he was like, oh, Natalie and Nadiya, you guys have been on Amazing Race twice. And that totally threw our game plan out of the window because we were going to try and be really low key. But once Nadiya got voted off, I knew Kelly knew about Amazing Race. Nobody else had actually watched Amazing Race on my beach. Keith had watched it, but I don't think he even connected the dots. So I just remember telling Kelly, like, I talked to Kelly so much, and she had nobody else to work with, so I would always just say, like, girl, there could be, you have to work with Drew and John, or like Missy and Julie, or you got me, just work with me. And I think Kelly just realized I was a better choice to work with than the other idiots that were on the beach with her,
Yeah, well, it also seemed that as alongside Kelly, I mean, you and Jeremy hit it off very early on Hunapu. I mean, what was it about Jeremy, that connection with him, that obviously would play a key factor in later on you targeting John and all that because Jeremy was voted out?
The fact that Jeremy was married, and I saw his connection with everybody kind of saw how his reaction to Val going to exile was, and so I knew that this guy, being a dad, being a wife, I knew that it was somebody that you could bond with easier than a single guy who was being reckless. So I knew I could approach him, and immediately when Val got voted off after Nadiya, we were the only 2 out there without our loved ones, and so that kind of solidified our bond on the beach, because at that time we were the only 2 who didn't have a loved one to be with us, and so we kind of became each other's loved ones, and he was like a big brother to me out there, and I told him everything. I didn't hold back because I had nobody else to talk to, and I think that kind of made our bond super strong. I didn't realize it was going to last as long as it did, but while we were on Hunapu, he was like my number one, and watching it back, it's kind of cool that Jeremy felt the same way about trusting me as much as I trusted him. But yeah, it was cool. It just happened like this. As soon as Nadiya got voted off, and then Val got voted off, that was the thing that actually put us both in the same position.
And given that you guys were winning so much early on, there wasn't a whole lot shown of Hunapu before you guys eventually went to Tribal Council. I mean, were there any moments that perhaps you can remember that we didn't get to see that you think we should have at least seen in those opening few episodes?
Hunapu was a mess. We were having fun, but we were so out of control, with the rice, and Reed was such a hot mess on the beach. They didn't obviously nobody got to see it, but if we had lost our first couple of challenges, we would have been all out of there in 2 seconds, because he was such a spaz on the beach. Drew and John were just complete idiots. They were literally, me and Kelly would call them Tweedledee and Tweedledum, depending on the day. One was dumb and one was D. They were just out of control, hanging out all the time, not even being vocal about their relationship, put a huge target on themselves from the start, but because we were winning, nobody really cared. We were just whatever. We would go to the challenges, win, come back home, and then to the beach, and then just be reckless as hell, eating everything. But for the most part, we were just all chilling and just having fun, Obviously eating too much.
Yes, just a little bit, I would say there.
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
Now, when eventually you guys lost and Drew threw the challenge, did you guys know he was throwing that challenge, or was it a complete shock?
No, Drew said this on all his interviews. He said that me, John, and Jeremy knew he was throwing this bloody challenge, but we had no idea. He had talked about it, and all of us were Drew, don't. We're don't do it. It's not what it's due. But he had, in his head, he had kind of told us this, and then he was out at exile. And so when he came back to exile, we had an argument back at Hunapu about who should sit out. And then the fact that Jeremy and John sat out, Drew thought that was a signal to say, yeah, Drew, we're throwing the challenge, throw the challenge today, because those were really 2 strong competitors. And so when they set out, Drew was like, all right, I got the signal, guys. Don't worry, I'm going to throw the challenge. He threw the challenge, and all of us were like, dude, that was not the plan.
Wow.
So then he ended up so he didn't tell us, like, immediately afterwards, but now after everything happened, he was like, yeah, guys, I threw the challenge because I thought you guys were signaling me, like, just throw the challenge by sticking out, but we were just a mess.
So in that, when all that happens then, I mean, I'm guessing the push then when it comes to vote him out, that just makes it a little bit easier then to say, well, hang on a minute, this guy did this, let's just get rid of him.
I know, I mean, looking back, he sealed his own fate, but it would have been awesome if we were undefeated because stupid Cleopa thought they actually won that, and, like, you can see Alex celebrating, and dummy Dale is throwing the stupid rings, and he, like, takes all this pride in winning. It's like, no, you didn't win. You just fucking sabotaged himself on purpose, so you actually really suck anyway, Drew. I mean, Dale sucks. So, watching it back is funny because obviously Cleopa's like, yeah, we did it. It's like, no, you guys still suck, sorry. But that episode was actually really fun to watch because Drew was just it was so stellar. The way he came back, he just went completely berserk. And, you know, he had no idea that he was going home because the guys were a mess. And, you know, Drew considered me one of the quote-unquote guys. And so he was telling me, he's like, you got to get one of the bitches out, Natalie. I'm like, Drew, like, you're telling me this. I'm like one of the girls. But he didn't see me as one of the quote-unquote girls because I wasn't, you know, one of the, like, I didn't hang out with the girls all day. So he thought I was one of the guys. But
wow.
I was just like, Drew, you're out of control. Yeah.
Drew was an interesting man, I guess would be the way to put that nicely,
yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, he is very interesting. He's just such an awesome guy, but the beach did not show him in a good light because he was just hungry. He let everything get to his head, and I think he thought Survivor was going to be a way easier game than it actually was. And so when he just, like, lost it, it was, like, out of sight. I don't know. I can't even explain how he behaved out there. It was crazy.
Big hello to Drew if he's listening to this, of course. The switch came about, and obviously you still end up with Jeremy and Julie. And, I mean, it really looked at that point, it was all about trying to get Alec onto your side. Had New Hunapu lost, do you feel that Alec would have come on side, or was Jeremy really in a lot of trouble at that point?
Yeah, Jeremy or myself, we were in trouble. I would say Jeremy more. Like at the start when we did those tribe swaps, I was actually really excited because I was like, oh my God, we have all the singles with us, and I was like, this is going to be a cakewalk now. We just have to border up either Reed. I mean, obviously I didn't think Reed was going to go first, but I was like, we have all the singles. But then as soon as I got back to the camp, I realized Reed had already jumped Hunapu ship. He was swimming over to Cleopa to join. Obviously, Josh, Wes, and Alec, and that left 4 of them versus me, Julie, and Jeremy. And once I realized that, that's when Jeremy and me tried to work Alec hardcore and convincing him, like, listen, dude, you need to come with the singles. There's no point you being with Josh and Reed because you're at the bottom of their alliance. But we could never get through to Alec. It was, like, literally impossible. At one point, I remember telling him, I was like, dude, time to get off the gay train, come to us. And he was like, no way, I'm not voting off Josh. And I was like, whatever, you're useless. But if we did lose, I'm sure Jeremy would have gone home because Josh had it out for Jeremy from the start because he could tell he couldn't control Jeremy, like he could control, Alec. And me and Jeremy, we did not want any part of, following Josh's lead because he was dumb anyway. So as soon as he realized that, me and Jeremy weren't just going to be one of his, like, stupid minions, I could tell that he was just threatened and he wanted to get out, Jeremy or me.
It's fascinating because I remember speaking to Josh in his exit interview. He mentioned that there were ideas that they would throw the challenge to get rid of Jeremy. And, I mean, looking at if that had have happened, I mean, how do you think your game would have adapted had Jeremy gone at that point? Because it seemed as soon as Jeremy left, you really kicked into gear, and that's kind of when, I suppose, you turned into Tony, I guess you could say, and just went on a rampage. But do you feel had Jeremy gone before the merge, you still would have been able to do what you did?
If Jeremy had gone out when we were on the second Hunapu, so like Hunapu 2.0, I feel like I would have just pretended to be with Josh until we got to the merge, until I could have been with Missy and Dale and convinced them that, Josh voted out Jeremy. They sabotaged the challenge, and I would have been just as angry, but I don't think I would have been as mad as I got for how my alliance turned on me and Jeremy at the same time. So the way things turned out for me was perfect, because that really fueled me when I was blindsided as much as Jeremy was in that situation. That kind of was the reason that kept me going and pushed me to keep getting back at John. But I don't know, if Jeremy went out, I mean, if we lost the game, I could have been out next, and Jeff always says everything is like a ripple effect in Survivor, and for me to have won the way I did, everything has timing and luck and obviously a lot of work as well, but that could have changed everything for me at that point.
I loved the point. I've actually just rewatched the entire season because I wanted to get it done again before the new season. And watched about 2 days ago the Jeremy Blindside, which we actually voted that. We had a top 10 viewer blindsides, the episodes where the viewer had no idea it was going to happen. We put that at number 1.
Well, it's going to happen, yeah.
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea that Jeremy was going home that night. And your reaction when you turned to Missy, what the fuck, Missy? I mean...
Yeah, exactly.
Was there more when you got back to camp that we didn't get to see, just of your reaction going off at Missy and John at taking Jeremy out?
Yeah, so I was so blindsided, and Jeremy had just come back from exile that day, and when we were around camp, I took Jeremy aside. I said, dude, I don't know about John and Missy and them. They're trying to build this. They used to come up to me and talk to me about Jeremy, saying, I don't know if we can trust Jeremy. And I told Jeremy, I was like, they're trying to build it up to make it seem like they can't trust you when it's really just threatened by you in the long run. And I said, watch your back. And Jeremy was like, all right, Nat, but we need this vote. We need one more vote. And I was like, just watch out for John. I told him that. And then when we went to tribal, that reaction, I was so mad, I didn't know what to do. And at that point, I thought to myself, I can either jump ship of this stupid 5 alliance and go with the guys, because all the guys loved me on the other side. So I went to Reed, Wes, Keith, Alec, and said, guys, I want to work with you. Let's get off John next. John would have been out because I don't have the numbers, and that's why John was so stupid to make that move as early as he did, because I could have just left his whole alliance at that point, but I figured I'd rather work with John, because when I came back to camp, they seemed so apologetic, and they didn't really need to be, because it's Survivor, but they came up to me and they're like, Natalie, I'm so sorry, we had to do it, we did it for you too, and I have an idol, Natalie, and John is telling me all this, and I was like, you know what, they feel so bad, I need to use this credit in the long run to get what I need to get done with this alliance, and it's better than jumping ship with the boys, because the boys they were such a mess anyway, but Missy felt so bad, Baylor felt bad, and the fact that they knew that Jeremy was my number 1 bought me a lot of credit with them in the long run. Sympathy-wise, I used it really well in the long run, because someone actually felt really bad for me. But, it was really intense when I got back to camp, because I pretended later to the guys that I knew I was in on the blind side, because I didn't want to look like I was on the outside with my alliance. And so Wes came up to me and he was like, Nat, did you know? And I lied to the guys and I said, yeah, I knew what was going on. I just didn't want to vote for Jeremy. And I pulled it off until later, and the guys always thought I was in on that move until later they found out that I was actually not in on the Jeremy vote at all.
It's fascinating to hear that, because we saw that, of course, later when you switched your vote to Alec and then you played dumb and everybody believed you. So I guess you could sort of say with your acting skills, good job, Natalie, you should become an actor. And also I think that
I know.
you got very lucky that you got to play with some very, how would I put this, dim-witted people?
I don't know, because this is what Jeremy said. Jeremy said, is it harder to play Survivor with the game-savvy people or people that don't know what's going on? So I think I don't know. I think it's harder to play with people that actually know what's going on, because I could fool these guys into thinking things that you normally will be able to convince somebody, hey, oh my God, guys, I actually just messed up my vote. But the fact that they believe me, I would rather play with people that I got to play with than a bunch of Tonys or Spencers, Yeah. But I don't know. It was crazy. Even I, at that point when I did act way more than you saw, but the fact that they bought it still to me, still makes me so perplexed that they would just believe me. When I say oh my God, guys, I'm so sorry. And they're like, it's fine, Natalie. That's cool.
Well, just mentioned that to Jacqueline, and Jacqueline was saying that she watched it back thinking like, oh, I knew I should have believed myself. There was a 2-second moment where I thought I was right, that Natalie was playing us, but it was amazing to watch it, just how well they believed you.
Yeah, she also thought Alex voted for herself, so I don't know about how much she thought I was.
Yes.
I thought for a second, I was like, maybe I should just go with that and say that Alex voted it for himself. But then I was like, no, you know what? If I can convince him that I did this on accident, that would be even better. So I just went with it.
It worked. I mean, obviously, right at the end, it was a huge risk to play your idol on Jacqueline to take out Baylor. Were you at any point worried? I'm guessing maybe you weren't, considering that how easily you played them, but were you worried at all that they were playing you and that perhaps this was a whole big ploy to blindside you, to get you to use your idol on somebody else and then take you out?
Well, I thought about that, and I was like, you know what? If I am so comfortable at this point where I play my idol for somebody else and I go home, then I was like, you know what? It's a risk I'm willing to take. The moment I knew that, that I was safe no matter what I did, it was when Baylor goes to me, I think it would be cute if you played your idol for my mom. And I was like, looked at her and I was like, oh yeah, totes, I'll do that, no problem. That would be cute. And she was like, okay, yeah, cute. And then I was like, oh, yeah, they're not voting for me tonight. Because I told Baylor and Missy, I was like, wouldn't it be cute if I played my idol for Missy tonight? And they both believe me. And so when I went there, but I was really nervous that Jacqueline would figure it out that I was playing an idol for her and convince other people to vote for me. But then, Jacqueline was clueless most of the time. So I knew that as long as idol talk doesn't become the whole conversation at Tribal, that I would be able to just kind of pretend that I was super tight with Missy and Baylor still, and nobody would have expected me to save Jacqueline, because me and Jacqueline, after John went home, we were not on the best terms. We had a huge fight, but then I went up to Jacqueline later and just was like, listen, just vote for Baylor tonight. And she was like, why? And I was like, just vote for Baylor. And she's like, oh my God, is Missy flipping on Baylor? I was like, don't ask questions, just vote for Baylor, trust me. And she did it, and I was surprised that she did, but I'm happy, but,
it worked.
It's still, it wasn't 100%. Yeah, it worked, and it wasn't 100% guarantee. But looking back, the fact that she had no other options was, my best asset in looking at her as an ally in that moment, because she had me or she had no one. So it was cool.
And then going into the final tribal, because of course we saw then that there, was a slight push, it seemed, to try and get you out at Final Four, but obviously didn't go ahead. Going into final tribal, given what you were just saying about playing the game and all that sort of thing, were you confident that you had that game won going up against Jacqueline and Missy at the final?
Oh, yeah. I was, literally 100% sure that I'd won, because when CBS edits, they had to edit to make it seem like, Jacqueline was giving me a run for my money, when in reality, every guy that came up, Alex comes up and he was like, Natalie, you have my vote, congratulations. Even Wes came up and said, Natalie, you're the only girl I'd vote for up there. Good job. And Jeremy said the same thing. I was worried about Keith because he seemed really hurt, because me and Keith were the closest from everybody else on the beach. But as soon as, when I started thinking about who Keith would vote for, I knew he would vote for me over Missy and Jacqueline. And so I was really confident sitting with the two. I kind of handpicked who to sit next to. I wasn't going to go to tribal council with people that I wasn't sure I was going to beat. And, that's why I didn't want to go with John. That's why I didn't want to go with Keith, because those are two of the people that I would be a little bit nervous about, but I wasn't nervous at all going into final with Jacqueline and Baylor. And in fact, Jacqueline and Missy. And in fact, when I was thinking 2 steps behind, when I was on final, when I voted out Baylor, I was really, really tempted to try and keep Baylor around and go to final tribal with Baylor and Missy, because then I knew I would have won unanimously. And had a quote-unquote perfect survivor game, but I didn't want to risk not making tribal council, because I knew Missy and Baylor, if they thought about it too much, they would have known not to take me, and I didn't want to risk getting voted out by both of them in the final 3 situation in case I didn't win immunity,
I've read a few fan theories that in a technical way, you could say you did win unanimously because obviously Jacqueline was always going to get John's vote, and Reed obviously voted for Missy to for Jacqueline to get her into second, and obviously Baylor was always going to vote for Missy. So in a way, if you take away those votes, technically...
Technically, I should have, and Reed knew he should have voted for me. The fact that he had this feeling against Missy and he didn't like Missy as a person / in the game. The lines are blurry. He says it's in the game, but the way he acts is not like, it's obviously beyond the game for him. But I don't even consider like Reed's vote as like an actual vote, and then obviously Blood is going to vote for Blood, and so technically I can say that it was unanimous.
It works. You'll take it. That's fine. Now I've got a couple of listener questions here, and I'll get to our final five as well. But just before I do, I always like to ask the winners, Natalie, and I'm sure it's a question you've got asked a lot. But what is the first thing that you bought with your money when you got it?
Let's see. The first thing I did was I bought my parents like dinner and like a show in Vegas. So Nadiya and I had planned this trip afterwards. Like we knew that we were gonna win, so I was like, after LA, let's just go straight to Vegas. We drove to Vegas and then we hooked them up with date night, like a show. They went to see the Michael Jackson one, which they loved, and dinner. So that's what I did with them. The first thing I did with the money.
Beautiful, beautiful. What did you when you finally, after everything had wrapped up and you got a chance to see Nadiya again, did you tell her? Did you kind of keep it a secret until it came on air, or were you like, by the way, sis, I've won Survivor?
No, I could not hold it in with Nadiya. As soon as I got back to America, she picked me up from the airport, and when she saw how emaciated I was, she was like, "Oh my God, Toonie, you obviously did well because you're bloody analyst." And I was like, "Yeah, I did well." And then when I told her, I was like, "I went to Final 3 with Missy and Jacqueline." I didn't have to tell Nadiya anything about the game. She's like, "So you basically won?" And I was like, "Yeah, basically," because Nadiya knew what kind of player Jacqueline was, and she saw that there was no real potential for her to do anything, monumental enough to win, unless she had gone really with Missy and Baylor or something. And then she knew Missy was not going to pull off something like I could pull off, so she knew immediately. And I was like, basically I won, but, I didn't say, oh yeah, 100% I won.
Beautiful, beautiful. I've got a couple of listed questions here, and I'll wrap it up with our final five, Natalie. Now, I've got a question here. Aiden Abelida says, which pair of survivors did you play with that you think would make the best amazing races?
Oh, amazing. I would say Keith and Wes would make a really good amazing race team. Wes is really good at challenges, and Keith is really good at weird challenges, which is perfect for amazing race. They're really good at navigating. They get along well. They don't get on each other's nerves. They're like me and Nadiya, where they argue, but it's all in fun. They don't hold grudges. And I think they would be really entertaining to watch. I love Keith. He was my fake survivor dad out there. We had a really close bond. And Wes is a cool guy, and he's so strong, and he's good in challenges. He just has a weakness for food, but he's really good at challenges. So I think they would make a really good, amazing race team.
I'd watch that. That would be fun to watch. Bryce.
Yeah, right?
Bryce Riles said, at which move in the game was it that it finally clicked that you could win this?
I think it was really late. I think it was finally getting out John. I was so depressed that episode because I volunteered to go to exile, and I kind of realized, I was like, why did you do this, Natalie? You're the only girl that has volunteered to go to exile. And the reason I actually volunteered that episode is because Keith had won the spa date, and there was a lot of pressure on who would go to exile, and obviously he didn't Baylor and Jacqueline basically they were useless. They can't make fire on their own. None of the girls, FYI, on the beach made fire alone except for me and Nadiya. And Nadiya and I made it together on day one, and then I was the only girl that made fire completely by myself. So the guys knew that I could handle it, and I just did it so that Keith could go and enjoy his reward, because there was talk amongst all of us to send Keith, even though he had won reward, and I was like, that's so messed up. But anyway, when I was at exile, I was so depressed, and I kind of saw myself going back to camp and having this exile curse where a lot of people, after they spend 2 days at exile, come back, their presence is not felt on camp, and people are trying to conspire against somebody, and I was like, oh my God, I shot myself in the foot with this move, and actually the girl that I'm driving with to Michigan now, Sheila, was like, she used to always say this one thing: you have one shot, like you have one shot to get it done. There's no redos, and Survivor is perfect for that because you have no redos. When you're in a situation and you got to do something, you have it, then your chance, and then after it's gone, you're just either you're fucked or you did good at it. So I said, you know what? After this exile, I need to win immunity. And I told myself before I went back to camp, I was like, Natalie, you need to win immunity so you can send John home tonight. And you know, nobody wins immunity after coming back after 2 days of exile. Like, boys are complaining about exile at day 10. This is day 34, and when I beat John, that's when I was like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm going to do it now because this is my chance. And then getting John out that episode was like the point when I was like, you know what? At the way things were going and how down I felt and the fact that I got out John, it took so much work. It took so much planning, so much talking. And I finally got him out. I was just like, I could see the finish line, and that's like when I just started like, you know, going on a roll, and I was like, I gave zero fucks about what was happening, and I was like, if I get voted out, who gives a fuck? Like, at least I'm doing things that I want to do, and it'll allow me to win if I make it to the end, you know?
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love the fact that we've got a few fucks there from you, Natalie. I was worried that we weren't going to get a lot of swearing, and we're finally getting it now, so I'm glad. Thank you. Now, thank you to everybody who sent the questions in. Now, we wrap up every interview, Natalie, with 5 Survivor-based questions. These are all just opinion-based ones, and again, just basis on what you have seen on the show, and of course, from your season as well. First question, what are 3 things you learnt about Jeff Probst during your time on Survivor?
Jeff Probst is bros before hoes. He loves the color blue, and he's really, really annoying in challenges because he distracts the shit out of everybody.
Did you turn around and say anything back to him? I love it when contestants mouth back at him when he's yelling at them.
No, I never. Oh, like one time, because they didn't show it, but like it was always me versus Keith. Like, so when it was like the girls and Keith on the beach, and we did that reward challenge for an advantage in the community challenge. Me and Keith were going against each other, and I got to the stupid, like, sack throwing thing, and he's like, you've got to move! And I was like, I'm moving! And they don't show it, but I, like, yelled back at him. I was like, what do you want me to do? I suck at throwing these things, and Keith is good at anything with fucking aim and balls. I can't beat him in this.
Wow. Bring back Phil Kogan and just standing there and saying, you're team number 1.
Yeah, Phil is way more chill, but obviously his job description is different. I think Jeff is so involved and he's like so obsessed with everything that's going on. Like, it fascinates him, all the time what's going on. And the fact that he didn't pick me to win, I guess, and like I don't think he thought I had it in me. I don't know. It's weird because sometimes I feel like he would have rather somebody else win, but I don't know. I don't really care.
Yeah, you won. That's all that matters. Question number 2: out of what you have seen in Survivor, Natalie, what has been your favourite and least favourite season?
I actually really loved Heroes versus Villains, and that was like a really fun season to watch. I think the personalities were amazing, and the challenges were really good. The worst season was probably the last Nicaragua season when it was just, the challenges were not fun to watch. Like, it was just bad TV, and also like the old versus young people, that was really bad to watch.
Okay. Question number 3. Now, I'm intrigued for your answer for this one. Who to you is the sexiest ever contestant?
The what?
The sexiest ever contestant.
Oh, the sexiest ever contestant? Nadiya, what do you think?
Yeah, get Nadiya in for this one.
Let me think. Yeah, I'm getting Nadiya's opinion. Let me see. I'm trying to think who's the sexiest. I don't know. Let me I'm trying to think. My season, like, all the guys are like my bros, so I think that, Drew's a good-looking guy, but I see him like as a brother, so it's weird to say sexy. But all the boys from our season, I feel like John Rocker is a sexy guy, even though he's a freakazoid and an asshole. Jeremy's a good-looking guy. I think Arcas is a hands down the best-looking guy. Wes, Keith, all good-looking dudes.
Yep, I'll take that. Good answer. I like it. Question number 4.
Yeah.
Out of all the players to have ever played Survivor, who is the greatest never to have won?
The greatest never to have won. Well, if you don't win, there's something wrong with your game, obviously. Hello, Nadiya.
I was going to say, she's sitting right next to you. Come on.
And she's genetically exactly like me, so obviously she has it in her to win. it's really crazy because being identical twins, the fact that she went out first and I went out last, the last one standing.
Yep.
I think it was such a monumental season. They never fucking talked about it, and even on the finale, they were talking about all this rubbish instead of talking about anything that really mattered. So we didn't get to really talk about anything but the fact that we're identical in every way, genetically, fucking everything, and the fact that the way the cards are dealt, timing, luck, this social experiment of Survivor, it's crazy. So I would think Nadiya is the greatest player to not win because basically she did win when I won, so we're the same person.
That works. Here's an interesting question that I always like asking the winners because it generally always gets answered the same way, but I'll see how you answer this. Who is your least favourite winner?
My least favourite winner? Oh, man. Trying to think.
Put the pressure.
I don't want to throw shade at any winners. Nadiya.
Nadiya can be the safe answer here.
Who's it? I don't know the name of the person, but the girl who won when everybody hated
Russell?
Who won when Russell and
Natalie beat the other Natalie.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yep, all right.
Did she the one who won because nobody liked Russell?
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
Okay, then her.
All right, interesting. All right.
I think Russell should have. I feel like Russell should have won.
Okay, there we go. And then we would have only had one Natalie having one Survivor, and that's all we need, right? We don't.
No, there's 3 Natalies that have won, right?
Just the two.
Oh, just 2.
Just
okay,
the 2.
no.
All right. Final question for you today, Natalie Anderson. In the history of Survivor, and you are allowed to answer yourself if you want to as well. Who is the greatest ever player and why?
I think that I am the greatest player. I'm going to answer myself.
Good.
I think I had a lot of cards stacked against me. The fact that I overcame Nadiya going out first, and I was in a blood versus water season, which is, I think, the trickiest kind of season to be in because there's the dynamics of Survivor, but there's also the dynamics of family and blood and relatives and boyfriends and girlfriends and all this other fuckers. And the fact that Nadiya went out first. And the fact that I also started with the negative of girls, and so first ever in Survivor history, the girls were started on a negative on a tribe, and we all know that can go like this, like Nadiya and Koyopa, the guys can mount together immediately and just get rid of girls, and they have a tendency to do that if they want to. And so the fact that I overcame that, the fact that I overcame Nadiya going out first, and then just, never having an alliance from the start where I was always comfortable, and doing really good on challenges. I think I did individually and in group settings. I was really good on challenges. I never brought down my team. I never got a vote against me, but I wasn't the kind of person that was doing nothing around camp and not getting votes. I was doing crazy shit, but still people didn't vote for me because I was working overtime socially with these people to not make them vote for me. And I think one of the things that stuck out in my mind, and I said this at Final Tribal, but they obviously didn't show it. When I was sitting at Final Tribal with Missy and Jacqueline, I told the Final Tribal, I said, I'm sitting next to 2 people where I got rid of both their loved ones, and still they brought me to the final 3. That, to me, is out of control, because I voted out John, and I voted out Dale by myself. And both these 2, the loved one's mother and the fiancé, still brought me to the final 3. I think that is crazy. So I feel like in my mind, I'm the greatest Survivor winner. I don't care if nobody agrees with me. Who gives a shit? I think so.
That's all we...
and Nadiya thinks so.
Yes, well, exactly. There you go. And again, that question, we accept any answer, and I'm happy when people stand up for themselves. Natalie's a good answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I will say...
I could keep talking, but I won't.
No, well, look, we could be here all day if you want to, but I don't know if, I will say, I'll wrap it up though, Natalie, and I will say it's been a pleasure getting you back here to chat about it. I hope you enjoy your road trip, have a great 2015, and not only do we hope to see you on Survivor again, we'll get you back on Survivor Oz again one time in the future as well.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do an episode recap after one of the episodes.
Yes, let's do it. I'm looking forward to that. Yes, Worlds Apart's going to be good. So absolutely, we'll get you back on to do one of those.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. Thank you so much. Bye.
And big thanks to Natalie there. Huge pleasure to get her back on the show and chat about things. And hopefully we'll get her back on for an episode recap, as you heard during that interview. Busy day right now for these interviews, of course, and the day that I'm releasing these, 5 are coming out. San Juan Del Sur interviews. Jacqueline Schultz, Jeremy Collins, Dale and Kelly Wentworth, as well as Natalie Anderson that you've just listened to. There will be some minor changes in terms of scheduling and things that will come out, of course, in the coming months, just due to some way we're changing things around Survivor Oz and in terms of who does what, etc., etc. So stay tuned for all of that coming your way. So you might get a bunch of these coming out all at once, and there might be some delays with some other things as well. And don't forget, our epic rankings casts are still going on. A lot of controversy happening with all of those. We're reading all the comments. We can see a lot of people aren't too happy with a lot of the choices, but I implore you to keep listening to them. Of course, at the time of releasing this, we have released 3 episodes. We're down to the top 200 now, and of course we'll be releasing the top 100 in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we always appreciate your support here on Survivor Oz. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and also go onto YouTube as well to follow everything that is going on there. In the meantime, my name is Ben. This has been Survivor Oz. Thank you for tuning in to the Natalie Anderson interview, and we'll speak to you next time on The Trains.